Hey, friends, welcome back to Notes to My Nervous System, a podcast about understanding your nervous system so you can move through hard moments with a little more calm and a lot less self blame. I'm Erin, a mom, therapist, and creator of the Mind Circuit app. It's a simple nervous system friendly tool for moments when your body needs support before your brain can catch up.
But if we talk about IQ scores, what we're talking about is one person's performance on one day in one moment with one kind of test that is particularly around cognitive strengths and deficits.
Hi, friends. Welcome back to Notes to My Nervous System. I'm Erin, a mom, a therapist, and creator of the Mind Circuit app. Today, we sit down with Gordon Smith to explore how our intense, gifted nervous system can react to crisis disruption, what giftedness is. We'll look at the power of turning pain into art, and how this creative release can help the body let go of what it's been holding on to. But first, Gordon is going to explain what this idea of being gifted is so that we all have a better baseline. So thank you, Gordon, for coming. I appreciate your time.
Yeah, it's fun to be here. It was also fun just to get to ask you prior to coming on, like about your reasons for being here and doing this, and to hear you talk about wanting to keep people's health and well-being front and center as the world does what it does. So thank you
Mhm.
for creating the space.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
All right. So, giftedness. This is not an area when I was getting my master's in counseling that I even thought of, to be quite honest. So,
Mhm,
please
mhm.
enlighten me and the listeners.
Well, giftedness, it's had quite a long journey.
Mm.
But first of all, simply to identify a definition around it, there's a number of different ways of talking about this particular neurodivergence. And the probably the shortest way is that it is a qualitatively different experience of living that it has within it increased intensities, complexities, and drive.
Okay.
And these show up in all kinds of different ways. Giftedness has been couched in education land for 120 years.
Yes, when you say
And
giftedness, I think of a gifted program in an elementary or high school.
that's right. And the initial definitions actually came out of schools. There was a school in Australia, a woman named Lita Hollingsworth was running a school for girls in Australia, and identified that she had quite a lot of very bright girls who appeared to be experiencing the world very differently and had very different educational needs. A lot of her work then got subsumed by the American East Coasters and the European white dude crowd who decided to start building IQ tests. And these IQ
Sure.
tests that have all kinds of weaknesses in regard to their universality and cultural applicability became the way we defined giftedness. But if we talk about IQ scores, what we're talking about is one person's performance on one day in one moment with one kind of test that
Mhm.
is particularly around cognitive strengths and deficits. Once we recognize that it's just that we're only getting this tiny little peek
Mhm.
into who someone is, rather than having a look at their broader consciousness, we can kind of telescope out of giftedness as somebody who's really good at math and English, and come out into the more realistic observation that the same brain that does that math and English is the brain that does emotion, that does imagination, that does sensuality, that does physicality, that does existential sensibility. So when you meet that person who may have those cognitive abilities that are in some ways impressive, to
Mhm.
recognize that all these other areas of consciousness are likely also mirroring that intensity and complexity. So that's one way of looking at giftedness. Within this, if you look at the neuroscience, there's heightened
Mhm.
sensitivity, heightened connectivity within the brain. There's simply more going on. And so there is an increased data set. So it's really common to see gifted folks who take an IQ test, for instance, come in
Mhm.
with a really high score, except for their processing speed, which can just
Oh,
be pretty common to see that right around the center. And and here we see somebody who's taking in an enormous amount of data and having to run it all through a tiny little funnel. And so frustration
stressful.
can be a part of that experience as well. So I can go on about definitions, but that's my short form answer.
I appreciate that. But it does make me think of another question. Other than educational, where are we catching individuals? How are we testing, for lack of a better term?
Yeah.
Because, like, I know of individuals who they excel in art, they excel in plays and theaters and dance and all these things.
Yes.
I don't know of any standardized test to figure out if they're gifted or not, other than just watching them and going, "Oh my god, that's awesome."
Well, I really appreciate that because what you're describing is having to come outside of a medical model standardization simply to see what's in front of you.
Mhm.
That we have a hard time doing standardized tests on various ecologies because they're all very different. And if you try to apply the same rubric to every ecology that you step into, it will fail because it, it has to. So, what we end up with when assessing for giftedness outside of cognitive, outside of IQ, is this more qualitative assessment. What
Mhm.
is that person's experience of living? Do we see that high need for autonomy, that early emergence of existential sensibility, that broad creative imagination that comes into play, those high
Mhm.
sensual sensitivities, that high
Mhm.
need for physicality, these other pieces that such a tender emotional experience that's often called the highly sensitive person. These are
Okay.
also indications of giftedness, but there are not standardized tests for them.
Interesting. So, how do you as a clinician then is there a way qualitative that you can capture it, or
Yeah.
is it just your clinical professional opinion if somebody's gifted, or is there common
Well, I've had the good
language?
fortune of receiving mentorship from a woman named Jen Harvey Salant. She's an American who is in Switzerland and is the founder of a group called Intergifted, who's a
Heard of that.
PsyD who has developed different sorts of models for what she calls giftedness profiling that
Mhm.
allows folks who are steeped in it
Mhm.
it's steeped in giftedness and in the mental health side of things to be able to receive a person and learn more about their experience and then be able to offer reflections around those areas of intensity and complexity that they may be experiencing. And for gifted folks, it's so rare to find someone who can mirror back to them their own experience
Mhm.
that simply having that kind of assessment can be really liberating.
So it gives you a commonality of language and description and understanding.
Yeah, that's right. And if you just look at the numbers, like we'll go back to IQ, we got the bell curve, right? Let's go straight to the bell curve. That 100 IQ is the center of the bell curve. One standard deviation out, we're at 85 and 115. Two standard deviations
I'm
out,
having flashbacks to my statistics class. Ugh.
to 70 and 130. All right.
Mhm.
And now we get out into the third standard deviation, and we're in gifted land all of a sudden. And we are also in intellectual and developmentally disabled land. So if you imagine that someone with a 55 IQ might be having a different experience of reality than you and might need different approaches for their education,
Mm.
for their creative development, for their emotional development.
Modifications, accommodations. Yeah, yeah.
And then you take that difference from the norm to the other side, you begin to get an idea of how differently people might be experiencing things. It's obviously really different over here on the left side,
Right, but it's still
But as
with
far
the
as
size.
the distance from the norm,
Hmm.
we're talking about 3.1% of the population. You get out to that fourth standard.
3.1. Wow.
Yeah, you get out to that fourth standard deviation and we're at zero point 0.1.
Oh my goodness.
You get to that fifth standard deviation and we're at 0.001. And so loneliness is the most common affliction of the gifted.
Hmm. That is so sad. And it's so important for us to be aware of and have conversations around.
Mhm.
Because I would not have thought about the idea of the accommodations, modifications on both sides. But
Mhm.
as you say it makes perfect sense.
Yeah. And so,
Interesting.
so often kids are in school and they're like, they're smart, they don't need anything. Whereas
Oh,
what you're seeing is folks adapting to situations or choosing not to adapt to situations. Um,
mm,
and being in those kind of high masking spaces or
mm,
just deep loneliness or what's called gifted trauma of simply having their own reality not reflected and being told over and over and over again that they're too much, too sensitive, overthinking, over
mm.
explaining, over the two, over two, over two. And that internalization of those messages can lead to real distortions in self-image, self-concept.
Now, that brings me to one of the questions I was going to ask you. Why does that occur? Do you have a sense of why the world does feel so, I guess, lack of a better term, heavier, deeper emotions emerge? Is there a understanding of why that's occurring?
We take that high sensitivity, hyperconnectivity
Okay.
of nervous system as well as just gray matter and recognize that with gifted folks, some things tend to be true. They tend to be meta thinkers. And so they're thinking on from multiple perspectives simultaneously. They tend to be highly systems aware. So while I am aware right now that you and I are having a conversation on this little rectangle, I'm also aware of the people who will be hearing it. And I'm also aware of that through time, that it will be a year from now, someone may hear it. And that I'm aware that I'm having an emotional experience right now, and you're having an emotional experience right now. So this meta consciousness allows for this multi-perspectival approach. It's happening right now. I'm holding all of those simultaneously alongside an existential sensibility where I'm seeking meaning and really wanting this to mean something, to be purposeful. I'm also at another level seeking to connect. Like, hi, Erin.
Yeah.
I hope you can see me. I'm sure talking a lot real fast.
I'm from Chicago. You talk as fast as you want.
But this is part of the thing that as folks are feeling and thinking deeply about this stuff, if I say all that out loud, it's easy to overwhelm other people's nervous systems.
Oh, okay.
And so that message of it's not that complicated, you don't stop overcomplicating it. We just have to do what's in front of us
Oh,
and that
that's
like, well,
like,
now
calm down.
calm down. Calm down, lighten up. And so then where do they go?
Mm,
What do I do with all that
mhm.
now? And because what I'm feeling is not an overthinking, it's not being too sensitive. It's simply how I think, and it's as sensitive as I am.
Mm,
My role as a therapist for folks experiencing life in this way is to help expand their capacity to be who they are. Because that internal sense of overwhelm can happen in a lot of different ways. You see a lot of autoimmune disorders showing up that correlate to
oh,
high plus giftedness.
things such as,
Asthma, allergies, Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, these hypermobility issues are really common. POTS.
okay,
That's the research is still working on it. However, the correlations are compelling.
okay.
Yeah. So that metaconsciousness, going through this existential lens, it's going through this emotional space, it's going through the intellect, and
Mhm.
it's also going through this creative and imaginational place that you mentioned, where if we take that intensity and complexity, apply it to imagination, then suddenly the things that are happening in the world are not just the things that are happening in the world because I'm using my systems awareness and pattern recognition to game out using this wild imagination everything that could happen. And I'm responding emotionally to those. So now we've got this blooming of disasters that could be there. Now, within them, there's hopes and optimisms and that sort of thing. But a recognition that from where we are now and looking at trend lines, it can certainly fuel that overwhelm, especially
Mhm.
if we're walking into it with a higher intensity, complexity, and sensitivity.
And you're being told at the same time, too much. My God, that just breaks my heart. So, what can we do to help as a mom, as a therapist, as a human, if I'm aware of someone who's gifted or I'm thinking someone may be gifted? What are some things that I could do or some things I should avoid saying that maybe I didn't even think of?
Well, watch these descriptions. Anything, any sentence that starts with you
Mhm.
is suspect. Um,
Okay, I like that.
let's begin that same experience with the word I.
Mm.
I am feeling overwhelmed right now. I am having a hard time following you. I am really feeling that you've got a lot of feelings going on, and I can't, I'm not quite there yet.
Mhm.
It's this affirmative place of saying, hey, I'm having an experience of you, not you are doing something wrong.
Oh, I like that. That's hard, though, I would think, as a parent or a guardian to be mindful of that.
It's a
Important,
practice.
absolutely, but
Yeah.
not exactly like what you see if you turn on the TV and you watch like the Waltons or something. You know what I mean? Like frame of reference.
I do. And I recognize that with the high autonomy needs of gifted people, that if what you're seeking from them is compliance with some normative experience, you will not get it and they will feel rejected. Now, not to say we
Mhm,
can't become bicultural, which is kind of how I describe it to folks, is I'm going to be who I am and I'm going to be in an affirmative experience of my own reality.
mhm.
And when I go to the grocery store, I'm not going to info dump on somebody about my favorite turtle. Like, okay, let me like toggle over here and I to be able to shift into neuronormative land and shift back into neurodivergent land becomes its own skill set. And
Okay.
this is where parents can really be helpful, is rather than a right and a wrong way, or why aren't you more normal? Why are you so weird? Stop being weird. It's, oh my gosh, you are so weird and I love you so much. Please keep being weird. And now we are going to school and I'm gonna need shoes. If you don't wear the shoes, your experience of this day will be worse.
Oh,
But I
okay.
want you to have a good experience of your day.
I like that. So validate, but yeah, you're a little different than the norm. And awesome. I see you. And I love that. And also, how can I help you understand what are some norms that you may not catch on that I want to make sure that you don't, I guess, get bullied for or stand
Bullied
out
for,
for?
end up at the principal's office for, just get deflated by, like
Mm,
show your work.
yeah.
You crazy.
Oh, my
Yeah,
son hates that with a passion. We have that conversation almost every night. Why should I have to show my work?
that's
And
right.
I always go, it's valid. You're right. But that's what they want. And that's what part of your grade's on. So you have a choice.
Well, and this is where some advocacy can come in handy. I have worked with school
Oh,
systems to help school system understand that they're working with a neurodivergent person in this giftedness and to
oh,
develop a more mastery based way of seeing the kid rather than work hours put in.
I like
Um,
that.
it's like, can you demonstrate mastery of the subject matter? And some of that is showing. Some of that is showing because there's different ways to arrive at the answer. And the more of those you know, the cooler things
Mhm.
can get, right? Like
Yeah.
as you get into the advanced maths or other things, like suddenly
Mhm.
that variety of ways to approach problems becomes really valuable and fun. So anyway, this mastery demonstration is and some schools won't do it, but some will.
Well, but at least you're having the conversation. You're letting parents and guardians know that there are other options, and you're exposing educators to this idea. So
That's
even if
right.
they don't go along with it, at least they're aware of it.
That's right.
And then you never know that ripple effect and how positive it could turn out later. A
Mhm.
teacher goes, and I think that person was right. Let me try this a little different.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, when that kid is sitting there looking like he's spacing out,
Uh-huh.
he may not be. He may be
Yeah.
doing the work.
It just doesn't look the way you think it should, but that
That's
doesn't
right.
mean it's not correct.
That's right. And so to get curious about people's experience is almost always a good idea rather than coming to conclusions before you have all of the information.
I like that. Now, this emotional piece that I haven't thought of, which I love these conversations because of things like this. You do a lot with art, from what I understand,
Mhm.
with poetry and turning that pain and the being dismissed and being told that you're too much and all this into art. What is that process like? If an individual is gifted, is it different? Is it not?
Mhm.
How do you help a person through that be able to express it? And why art?
Creativity is a dimension of consciousness. Imagination is a dimension of consciousness, as is emotion. And
Mm,
so I want to begin from this big picture of consciousness.
okay.
And from there, to recognize that that creative consciousness is where symbolism resides
Ah,
and where narrative resides and
okay.
where we make meaning
Mm,
is so often housed there.
uh-huh.
Um, there's a type of thinking called associative reasoning, which is what happens when we're doing art. It's when we make connections between things that aren't necessarily linear connections. When I look at an Rene Magritte painting of a giant green apple in an orange room, and the apple taking up most of the room, and the name of the painting is The Listening Room, I can begin to see some associative reasoning here. What's going on? Why is that a listening room? What's this big green apple doing here? This is a different way of considering listening, of considering space, of considering familiar objects. So now we're into this associative reasoning and this creative consciousness. And now we're talking about perception and reality.
Mm.
There's so much that happens every single day
Yes.
around us and to us.
Oh gosh,
Um,
yes. And it just
and
keeps increasing.
all of the things we are making meaning out of and we are assigning priority to. And that through that generally unconscious meaning making and prioritization, we are having resulting emotional experiences.
Mhm,
Sometimes those emotions are telling us what we're ignoring.
mhm,
Sometimes they're telling us that we really need to pay attention to what's happening in front of us. That this information that the emotion is offering is really important, and to pause and to listen and to seek to understand it. So now we're getting to your question. I just needed to set the table.
no, I like it. I appreciate it.
There is a school of narrative medicine that came out of Oxford University and Columbia University.
Interesting.
Narrative medicine began researching how storytelling, poetry, and creative writing affected medical outcomes and have found there's nearly 1,000 of these studies now around improved health outcomes across the lifespan
Mm,
for people engaged in creative work. Doctors who engage narrative healthcare and narrative medicine training but
Mm-hmm.
they do creative writing,
Mm-hmm.
see their outcomes improve.
Oh, wow.
Why would
Okay.
that be? Why
Yeah.
would that be? And that question is still being considered. However,
Mm-hmm.
what we know is we are engaging a different way of being with the world, including our own pain, our own disease, our own pattern recognition of the way things ought to go prognosis wise. And so this the perceptual flexibility that emerges from being able to take a story, move to a smaller part of that story, shift into another meaning of that story, and practice this cognitive flexibility allows us not to grip so tightly to whatever narrative forms immediately.
Oh,
Uh,
I love that. It forces you to have different perspectives in ways you would never have encountered any other way.
that's right. That's right. And through that, you use the word releasing emotion. And
Yeah.
sometimes that is the experience. It is a sense of release. And other
Mm-hmm.
times it's a sense of organization or integration, uh,
Oh, okay. So it's
or
making better sense of it so they can process it.
different sense of it.
Okay.
Yeah, the ability to alter. So one of the narrative medicine practices that's super compelling is,
Mm-hmm.
let's say something really bad happened to me yesterday,
Mm-hmm.
and I am in some kind of trauma response or just deep distress, or I'm super snagged on whatever it was.
Mm-hmm.
I sit down today and I take 15 minutes and I write about what happened. That's all I'm doing. Tomorrow, for 15 minutes, I write about what it felt like to write about it. The
Okay.
next day, I write about it as though it happened in the third person. So to say,
Oh,
Johnny got hit by a car rather than I got
different
hit.
perspectives. Okay.
And then on the fourth day, for 15 minutes, you write the experience, what happened to you again. That the research outcomes for those folks see a sharp, marked decrease in the presence of post traumatic stress symptoms following traumatic events. And now those don't have to be immediate. That is, you don't have to do it immediately. You can do it for something that happened 20 years ago, and they're
Mm-hmm.
seeing the same kind of correlative effects in people's consciousness about their trauma. Now, there's not much happening here. This isn't creative writing, proper.
Mm-hmm.
However, it is. We're talking, I'm suddenly not only telling a story, but I'm telling a story of my feelings. And
Mm-hmm.
then I'm telescoping out and telling a story that happened out there. And then I'm stepping back into it, having gained these different perspectives.
It almost reminds me a little bit of what happens with EMDR, where you're able to desensitize from the events, be able to look outside of it, have a broader picture of not just the memory, but how you've internalized it, how it feels, how it
Yeah.
shows up in the body, what's the narrative you created versus what's occurred. And you're
Yeah.
able to just sit there and do that for yourself. That's
I think that's
wonderful.
a really solid comparison
Yeah, no,
as
I
how it
like that.
reorganizes that information.
And then your brain can do what it does naturally.
Yes. So that's part of what's nice about using art. Um, and then I want to bring one more dimension of it into it, which is all of that too sensitive to this, to that,
Mhm.
high masking behavior to try to move through neuronormativity really can teach people not to trust themselves and to seek external validation, because giftedness is rewarded when we make A's and invent the next cool ice cream flavor. It
Mhm.
is not rewarded when we are crying because we can't find our shoes. It is not rewarded when we are given an assignment and we take that assignment through our creative imagination and return it in some form that is not what the teacher meant. Or when we have characteristics or traits of what's called ADHD, or
Mhm.
these other, or high sensitivities even. And so part of what we do is we create a critique-free environment where it's not about becoming a good writer. I just don't care.
Right.
It's not about being published or going to the poetry slam or anything like that. It really is about how to allow yourself to be in your full expression. and to
Mm.
be able to be in a place where you get to practice that and teach your nervous system that it's safe in a
Oh,
group of
I love it.
people who can hear you. And so at another level, it's simply that. It's
Mhm.
simply allowing yourself to be who you are.
And telling yourself that is a safe version. I love it. Right back to that nervous system, the whole
Right.
body
That's
integration.
right.
Oh, I could go on and on about this, but that was awesome. And I know my listeners only have a short amount of time. So I'm going to pause it there and say thank you so much, Gordon, for enlightening us and taking us down this such an interesting road. And thank you to my listeners and viewers for your time. This has been Notes to My Nervous System. I'm Erin, and I appreciate your time. So take a deep breath and be kind to your nerves. You were able to do it in a short amount of time.
I had to talk so fast.
I just, I'm coming from the perspective of that busy parent who's running from one thing to the next, but I
Totally.
still want to be able to listen to interesting things. And so I'm creating this more for people like me.
Yeah, it makes sense.
And I love listening to podcasts, but I can't tell you how many times I've had to pause it and then I forget to go back. Then I forget which one was last. And
Right. And the next one is calling your name. Yeah.
yes. Oh, how interesting. Okay. Are you ready to give me a little bit about the improv?
Yeah. Let me
Or
have
do
a
you have
thought.
something else you would like to talk about? I'm open.
Well, so right now I'm not really doing any improv. Like I'm happy to talk about it. I think it's cool. I'm happy to hold forth about it. I'm not. So I was doing most of it online, except for my therapist groups that I was running here in Asheville. It was a really cool thing to get to be able to do during more of the lockdown times when people were kind of stuck on Zoom, or in the immediate aftermath as folks were still doing a lot more of that. But as the world restarted, I've had fewer, it's been harder and harder to fill groups, especially I'm gifted specific, and I just ran down what the numbers look like. So while I intend to do it again, it's just not something that's I'm more like going into these other areas of creativity, but it's really interesting because it's all the same kind of stuff. Improv is poetry, is storytelling, is
Then let's go with that. Cool.
yeah. And so rather than re-explain what giftedness is, what's the question here?
I was thinking I would just have you, I would bring up that you did improv during COVID as a creative outlet.
Hmm.
How did it help? Why did you go towards that? And then what are you doing today for that
Gotcha.
creative outlet? All right, I'll do my little intro spiel. Hey, friends, thank you for tuning into Notes to My Nervous System. And today we are so lucky we're welcoming back Gordon Smith, an expert in applying gifted adult therapy and now improv principles to that type of therapy to discover the healing power of saying yes. And we'll discuss how these principles can help us regulate our nervous system and soften the pressure to perform or get life right. Thank you, Gordon, for taking time out of your very busy schedule. I really do appreciate it because I know how busy therapists and healers are. So thank you for your time. Improv, you started this during COVID of all times. What led you to that and why was that beneficial in healing? Please take me through that journey.
Yeah, I appreciate being here and getting the opportunity to do this. It's hard to talk about improv without doing some, so maybe we'll do a little in a little bit.
Oh, okay. I have
Uh,
no clue how to do it, but I'm game.
well, you're on the right track then.
Oh,
So yeah, there it was. It was March of 2020, and we were all suddenly locked in our homes with nowhere to go. And as a therapist, I had already planned to shift my practice online. I was simply struggling with the marketing of it, of how would I get people to try it. And COVID came along and that problem was no more.
Answered it for you. Yep.
And so within that, I started looking around for, okay, how do I build high trust environments in the most efficient, effective way possible
Mhm.
in online spaces? This wasn't something that I deeply studied yet. It was something I was doing some research around.
Right.
And so suddenly there were groups all over the world who were asking the same question. And so I engaged in all kinds of funny little experimental groups in California and Tokyo and all these different folks getting together,
Oh,
trying an app here and a thing there. And I kept describing to people why I was showing up. And somebody in one of these groups said, "Hey, I think you might be interested in what they're doing at Second City with their improv." And so I looked it up, and it just so happened that the very next day there was a 4-week group starting up, improv group, online
you
through
took
Second
this
City.
for Second City?
Yeah. Hmm.
Oh my goodness. Being from Chicago, I love Second City.
Right. I mean, it's like the
I mean,
mascot of Chicago.
I loved going there and seeing all the different performances. It was hilarious. It was so
Who did
nice.
you see there? Who did you see?
Oh God. Um, Nobody super, super famous, just
Uh-huh.
a couple people that I've seen throughout the years in movies in like, I guess the B or C slots. And I'm just like, oh my God, I saw you do this where you did this with your pants or whatever. And it's just really cool. Name
Yeah, yeah. So Second City has been the birthplace for so many, your Stephen Colbert's and Steve Carell's and
yeah.
Tina Fey. And, there's all these names that are household now that came up through Second
Oh
City.
yeah. I know some of the bars Stephen used to go to.
Yeah, that old town across the street. Well, the person who's
Yeah, there.
teaching the class has her picture on the wall of that bar across the street, a woman named Lisa Bainey.
Mm,
And she's still a director at Second City, but she ran this group. And first of all, it was just a hoot. I'm sitting here in my house by myself, but then suddenly I get to get online with a dozen people and just play games.
have
That's
fun.
all we're doing.
Hmm.
And I really want to keep that in mind as this part of the conversation goes forward. Improv it's simply playing.
Oh,
I just want to like
interesting.
simplify here. Like we are
Okay.
talking about playing and the value of that. Stepping back, there was a psychologist also in the group from the Northeast, and we were talking with Lisa after class one day about applications in her
Mm,
work. And she
mhm.
said, "Well, I'm actually part of this other group called Improv Therapy Group, and we're doing improv for therapists specifically starting next week." And so,
Oh,
ta-da, there I
wow.
am.
Everything just flowed.
I just had to say yes.
Of course.
And so I showed up and I did the 8-week improv for therapists level one. And then I did
Mhm.
the 8-week improv for therapists level two. And then I did the 8-week improv for therapists advanced. And then I did
Oh,
it again.
wow.
And then I did it again. And then I'm on the board of the improv therapy group.
Oh,
And then I'm learning to be an instructor for the improv therapy group.
mm.
And then I'm instructing improv therapy groups.
Oh my goodness. You just ran with it.
Uh, and within that, you utilize my clinical specialty, which is around gifted adolescents and adults.
Mhm.
And so focused my groups on that population,
Mhm.
uh, as well as doing gifted, that is improv for therapists here in where I live in Asheville, North Carolina. So that's how I got into it, Aaron.
That's interesting. And what have you found it being like helpful or beneficial with in ways maybe I, as a therapist, haven't considered?
Mhm. So we'll go back to play.
Yes,
We
please.
are talking about playing games.
Mhm.
And the things that are necessary to drop into that state of play, imaginative play, the core things that have to be present are safety and trust. Safety and trust. In the absence of safety, in the absence of trust, we don't play. We may do something that
Mm,
looks like play, like chess, but it may
right,
not feel like play. It may feel like work or strategic rather than pure imaginative play.
right.
If you've
Okay.
ever played with a 4-year-old and tried to dictate something within that, oh, well, now the monster goes to the building. And they're like, what are you doing? Stop
Yep.
trying to control things. No, we're playing.
Mhm. Yep.
You see that come through.
Yeah.
Um,
Just being in that moment. There's
just
not
being,
the next.
that's right. That's right. We are not trying to accomplish anything. We're not even trying to
That's
tell a
so
coherent story.
hard for an adult to get their heads around, though,
Why is that?
because we're just so programmed to do the next thing, to have our checklist, to get certain things accomplished, society, environment, whatever it is.
And so the cornerstone principle of improv is what you mentioned earlier is yes and. So this is becomes an experiment to get to practice in these improv groups
Uh-huh.
in whatever scene we're doing, whatever that looks like, whatever the my scene partner does, I'm going to say yes to that, meaning I'm going to accept it and receive it, and I'm going to then build upon it, add to it, expand upon it. So that's all yes and is.
And you're just expanding it in whatever way feels right for you, not what you think the person wants.
That's right.
Okay.
Because then we get to the second principle of improv, which
Okay.
is got your back, which means a trust that your scene partner has your back, that you can trust them to pick it up wherever you leave it off, that
Okay.
no matter where you take it, they are going to yes and it. There's
Mm,
no way to get it wrong. There are no mistakes. It's not possible to mess up. It's not possible. Safety and trust. Safety and trust. It's not
that would
possible to
be
mess up.
so good to have that constantly reinforced to somebody's nervous system.
Yes. And for most people, it's their first experience of it.
Oh, so sad, but probably true. Yes. Mm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But what a
So,
fun way to do therapy and to get that benefit.
right. And it's kind of funny to even call it therapy. I think you're not wrong in that it has what therapists would call therapeutic benefits, but that a child would just call play.
So true.
It would that a child would just call friends.
Mm,
And so while I appreciate the drawing that line to therapy, I also just
mhm.
want to name that so much of what therapists do is what society has stopped doing, which is just showing up and being relaxed and connecting in deep, meaningful, playful ways and having high safety, high trust situations.
That is so true. And also so sad when you think about it like that. Why we as adults are not providing this for ourselves, our friends, our family, our community naturally.
And that's the invitation. So when people come through these improv classes, I encourage them to carry it out into the world. What would happen?
Mm,
This is one of the
okay.
assignments that I offer people is this week, choose one day, one person in your life, and just yes and them. Don't tell them you're doing it. It
Okay.
can be your child, it can be your husband, it can be a coworker. Simply yes and them throughout the day and notice what that's like.
Interesting.
What people universally report is that the person that they're spending time with seems more relaxed and more easeful and lighter and
Hmm.
easy. And then I have some people who are like, well, I can't, if my kid says I want ice cream for breakfast, I can't say yes to that. It's going to ruin their day and it'll be a nightmare. And that's where improv comes in. Because if that 7-year-old says, hey, I want this chocolate ice cream for breakfast, you can say yes. And we are going to have breakfast at 4:30 this afternoon. It's going to be amazing. We get to receive it.
Smart.
You get to build on it.
Okay.
If the answer is yes, then the and can be what it's going to be
To
to
make
meet
it
the
work a
moment.
little better for the system, especially as a parent. Okay. Because I'm like thinking in my head, oh my God, my children would run with this, and I can't even imagine what would happen.
Mhm.
Oh,
The
but the
and
and,
is
yeah.
also the and is where you get to exercise because you're in the scene too. It's not just being
Mm,
permissive, it's being partnered.
okay. So also being aware of what will work for you as well.
Mhm, mhm,
Interesting. I would never have thought of improv like that.
mhm. So to carry this into our relationships and also just into our experience. Yes, I just got a parking ticket. And when I pay this parking ticket, I am going to draw a frowny face on it when I mail it. And so suddenly I'm playing with it.
Mhm.
Or even just to validate it. Yes, I got a parking ticket and this sucks.
Yeah.
Yes, this sucks. And the day goes on.
Yep.
Yes, the day goes on, and this parking ticket doesn't define that.
No.
Yes, this parking ticket does not define that. And the next thing I get to do is this thing that I'm actually pretty excited about. Yes, I'm excited about this thing, and I'm going to step fully into it. I just yes-anded myself into a better day.
Oh, I love that. That's a really cool approach.
So
It
this is real
also
depth,
talks
some real depth to
about,
it, right?
yeah, and it talks about different perspectives because when you were going through that, in my brain, I went, yes, and it costs less money to pay for parking than the parking ticket in Asheville versus Chicago. So I don't care. I mean, I have
Good
literally
one.
said that where I've gotten a parking ticket in Asheville and I'm like, oh, the garage would cost me more. I'm going to do this again.
Hmm. Hmm.
This is interesting. I would never have thought about this. Do you think this should be something that we teach more in like
I
mental
think
health
it's
classes?
available. I think we could. I think that I do. And
I mean, I would prefer this than learning about Freud.
yes.
Hmm.
And he needed a better mother. So the other half of this is the got your back thing. Now
Oh, yeah.
this is an edgier experiment
Okay.
to walk out into the world and presume the world has your back.
Oh,
What if? What if you walked out into the world and rather than presuming threat, you presumed safety? Now, this is a radical idea. It really is. Like,
and it could be
I'm not,
scary.
I don't expect anybody to be like, that's a great idea, Gordon. I expect people to say, that is cuckoo. The world is like out to get you half the time.
Yes, it's challenging, but I like what it makes you think about.
And just that expression, half the time. But the half I'm focused on
Mm. Okay. So what
is
are you
threat.
focusing on?
Right. And this is just being a person, right? We're back to the nervous system. The nervous system is there to scan for threat. That's what
Right.
it's gonna
That's
do.
safe.
It is great at it. It is
Mhm.
not as good at scanning for opportunity. And so we miss a lot of them. We miss a lot of them because we're not looking for them. We don't,
That is so
we don't,
true.
we
I
don't see them.
It's like evolution hasn't caught up quite enough for us to catch that, for us to be able to like turn or switch to that opportunity side.
Mhm. And so we can stay tuned into our nervous system. So if someone shady starts coming at us, we know to, oh, that's a potential threat versus, oh, I'm walking through a department store and I'm doing the same threat response.
Mm-hmm.
Versus, oh, what if I have a exceptional, unique experience in this really mundane space?
Mm-hmm.
Um, all right. Is this a video podcast or just audio?
A little bit of both.
What do you mean?
Well, we take little clips and use it for YouTube, and I also do audio.
Okay. All right. Well, let's do. I want to show you two different games. Are you down?
Okay, sure.
The first one is a physical game.
All
It's a
right.
yes and, but it's not what you might think of as like improv comedy on a stage. This is more about movement and a different kind of play.
Okay.
It's a,
So
it's a
we
game
can
called.
just describe the movement for those who are listening, or maybe
Well,
no.
I'll show you the game and then you decide how you want to.
Okay. Okay.
So I'm going to start doing something. I'm going to do some sort of movement. And
Okay.
you are going to say, hey, Gordon, what are you doing? Then I'm going to say that I'm doing something different than what it looks like I'm doing.
Oh,
So, for
okay.
instance, if I am doing this and you ask,
Hey, Gordon, what are you doing?
I'm flying a kite.
And I think you're singing or yelling in a mic.
Right. When I say I'm flying a kite, you start flying a kite.
Oh, so I
You show me what I'm
do
doing,
what?
and then I
Oh,
say, "Hey, Aaron, what are you doing?" And you tell me something different than what
oh,
it looks like you were doing, and I do that.
I'm gargling.
Gah,
Yeah.
gah, oh, gah.
Okay. Now, what does this provide as a game?
Let's play it 4 rounds, and then you tell
Okay.
me.
Okay. Good.
Um, all right, you start with something.
Um,
Hey, Aaron, what are you doing?
I'm marching in a band. Hey, Gordon, what are you doing?
I'm doing my math homework. Hey, Aaron, what are you doing?
I am singing. Hey, Gordon, what are you doing?
I'm riding a bicycle.
Oh, God. Okay. I'm trying to move my feet while sitting.
Hey, Aaron, what are you doing?
I am swimming. Hey, Gordon, what are you doing?
And scene.
Oh, that was fun.
That was fun. How does your
Yeah,
body feel?
it felt good. It felt good to move it in ways I would not have thought of. It also was interesting to use a different part of my brain,
What part was that?
the creative, imaginative side that I don't normally use. That normally I freeze when somebody asks me something I'm not prepared for. I a lot of time have the freeze response. I like deer in a headlight, and it annoys the hell out of me too.
And why didn't you have that freeze response in this moment?
Because I was having fun and my nervous system knew I was safe.
That's right.
I
You knew
like.
the rules, like we had a container, like we knew what the
Mhm,
structure was. You knew you could trust me. There was a simplicity to it. You understood the nature of it,
mhm.
and it's pretty easy.
Yeah.
So those pieces coming together allowed your nervous system to just enter this whole other space. And
Mhm,
you're laughing, and
mhm.
you're experiencing surprise, but not resistance.
Wow. Okay. Yeah. Oh, I like that. That's really cool. You really need to turn this into like a continuing education or course, or this is so valuable.
Yeah. Yeah. And so as people move through 8 week series of this and get to practice this nervous system,
Mm,
so suddenly when we're taking this yes and out into the world, we have like an anchor feeling state that comes with us. Like, oh, I not only know like what to do, yes and, but I know that there's a feeling state that I get to carry as well into that.
You feel grounded, nervous systems. You're more flexible then. You're more open to those opportunities that you may not have been aware of.
And imagine feeling that way when you're with your kids.
Oh, that would be lovely. That would be lovely as a parent to be able to not be on guard and constantly nervous about them. Oh,
Yes. And if they learned this way of play and of perspective as
mm.
a natural, normal practice of living,
And then they just carry that to adulthood. Oh, that's beautiful.
it is. It allows for opportunity and possibility that couldn't exist in any other way.
Oh, you have to get this out there more. This is wonderful.
Well, one of the cool things is that there are improv groups that have popped up in every town in America.
Oh,
So
good. So
some
they're
of
doing
them,
this great stuff and they don't even know the awesome effects of it.
that's right. What they
Perfect.
do know is that it's exhilarating to get caught up in creative play. That it just
Mm.
feels good. It's fun. It's nice.
I'm
Um,
surprised because normally when I see that, I like watching it. But if somebody asks me to do it, I'm like, oh, hell no.
which is why I began with a movement game with you rather than oh, I have to be quick-witted because you
Yeah,
don't.
that always throws me.
Right. Hmm.
But the movement, absolutely. Interesting.
And so we'll do one more simple game. This is a word game. This is called One Word Story.
Okay.
And I'm going to say a word, and then you're going to say a word, and then I'm going to say a word, and then you're going to say a word. And we're going to do that until a sentence or story develops. Here's the deal. You can't get it wrong. It doesn't matter what you say. It
Okay.
doesn't matter what you say.
That is hard for an adult to believe that, but I will go with that premise.
We're just going to go with that. That's right. I don't know if our story is going to be like a proper story or if it's going to be like an absurdist, like Samuel Beckett play, or if it's going to
Mhm.
be a Dr. Seuss on acid thing. I don't know. And it doesn't matter because we're just playing. None of this will have mattered. Nobody will have cared. We are simply hanging out together and playing a game.
This is interesting. Okay. Fun
All
game.
right. Uh, so, first word. I'll offer you the first word.
Peanut butter.
And
Mayonnaise.
came
To fight.
alone.
Swimming.
It
Was
a
mess.
they
Fought.
that
Race.
to
Win.
the
Bread.
seems. They fought a race to win the bread. That's funny shit. So here's what just happened. We just told a story that's never been told in the history of the world. Me and
Oh,
you, we just did that. No one's ever told that story. It didn't make a whole lot of sense. Uh,
peanut butter, mayonnaise, swimming, won a race for bread.
and I love that you came out of the gate with not one word but two.
That's the Gemini side of me.
Well, and I responded by yes anding it. Like I told you the
Yeah, you
rules, and
didn't
you
go,
broke the
oh, one word
rules.
only. You broke
That's
it
right.
down.
That's right.
And
And you
I
broke the rules.
appreciate
And I
that.
could have stopped you and said, I said one word.
Okay.
But I didn't. I yes anded you. And you got to continue. At one moment, you got snagged. You paused.
I
You were
did.
searching. When you were searching, I wonder what you were searching for.
I was trying to, my first inclination was, how do I make it a story? And then I pushed back and I said, no, I'm just supposed to be creative. So I tried to just be creative in the moment.
Yes, you did it. You did it. You took that editor, that planner, that strategist, said, "Oh, because that strategist showed up first, because that's the pattern and habit."
Mm-hmm.
And you noticed it, and you said, "No, no, no. This isn't a job for you right now." And then you just filled that gap. That ability
Mm-hmm.
simply to notice what part of you came forward and invite it to have a seat, and then to let yourself carry on, that's a skill.
Oh, okay.
You're skill building right there. Oh, right. I'm not trying to be strategic with my kid while we're in the sandbox right now. Yeah. And you just can start playing again.
Oh, I love that. That would be such an awesome little like parents need toddler class to take.
Yeah, it's something that I've done with families is done 4 to 6 weeks of improv
Oh,
as an adjunct to family therapy or as
oh, I love that.
there was one family where one of the kids had been in cancer treatment for a couple of years
Oh,
and was they thought she was going to die for about a year, but then she didn't die. And then she got
that's
better. And
wonderful.
then she moved back home. But the mom told me that they'd forgotten how to laugh. And
Um,
they came and did 6 weeks of improv with me and rebuilt a relationship and were able to then enter into these other spaces that were outside of any of that. We didn't talk about cancer once.
good. They've had
It
enough of that.
transformed their relationship.
Oh, I love that. Oh, this has been such an interesting and fun conversation. Thank you.
Thanks for playing games with me.
No problem. I don't normally get asked to do that unless my son wants to do like Monopoly, which he loves. And I do too, but it comes to a point where it's slow repetitive.
Oh my gosh. Can I teach you one more game then that you can play with your kids, that everybody can play
Sure.
with their kids?
Sure.
It's a favorite. All right. It's another storytelling game. It's called
Okay.
Fortunately, Unfortunately.
Fortunate, unfortunately. Okay.
Fortunately, unfortunately. Every sentence is going to begin with either the word fortunately or the word unfortunately. And we're going to go back and forth. I'll be uh I'll be unfortunately and you be fortunately. So every sentence you say begins with that word.
Oh, okay.
And we're going to tell a story. And I'll start. Unfortunately, it was almost time for the podcast to end.
Fortunately, they had so much fun. Fortunately, they can afford to go to the dentist.
Unfortunately, that means they're having to gum their peanut butter and jelly sandwiches.
Oh, fortunately, but it still will taste good.
Unfortunately, because it tastes so good, it was all they ever ate.
Fortunately, peanut butter is high in protein.
And scene. This is a really fun game to play in the
Oh,
car, especially if more than two people, and it keeps
mm,
alternating so people can each get a
uh-huh.
fortunately and an unfortunately if there's odd number of people in the car.
Oh, okay.
And it can go on for a long time, and it can go all manner of places if you just let the story develop. Uh,
How
from
fun.
there, from that protein with
Right.
this a couple of toothless podcast people moving through the world, just
Gumming
trying to
their
like,
peanut butter and jelly.
just trying to get enough protein. Who knows what would have happened next?
We may never know. Oh, thank you, Gordon. I really appreciate this. This was awesome, insightful, fun, and just totally got my brain going in so many different ways. So thank you for
Yeah,
the time.
so much fun. Yeah, glad to be here.
I appreciate it. And thank you if this gave your nervous system a little breather. Hit subscribe. Please share this with a friend who might want to learn how to play some fun games. Thank you for listening and joining Notes to My Nervous System. If this spoke to you, please leave a review and subscribe. Unless you're giving me a negative review, then keep that to yourself. If listening stirred anything up and you don't want to sit in it, Mind Circuit is a regulation app designed for moments just like this. It's not therapy. It's just a short guided reset you can use before sleep, after stress, or when your thoughts just won't slow down. But in the meantime, if it feels okay, let's do a quick little reset. Take a deep breath and let your eyes gently track left, right, left, right. You don't need to change your breath. Just let it happen. If your mind wandered, that's fine. If it didn't, that's fine too. We're just going to pause here and take one slow deep breath in and out. And again, let your eyes gently track left to right, back and forth. Left, right, left, right. And now you can come back to whatever's next in your life. And as always, please be kind to your own wiring.